Welcome back. Today we're going to turn these watermelons into a watermelon wash to make watermelon brandy. So I don't have a set recipe for this mash today because I don't know what the ppg of watermelon juice is. And I'm going to try and not add any water to this recipe. It's just going to be strictly the meat and the juice from the watermelon. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is take a specific gravity reading and find out what the points per pounds per gallon are. And then I'll decide if I'm going to have to add water or how much sugar I want to add, because I want a starting gravity for this recipe, somewhere between 1.08, 1.09. And that's the goal for the first part of this, just to find out what the points per pounds per gallon is of the watermelon juice. And I'm going to do that by cutting out all of the watermelon meat and blending it up in a blender and pureeing it basically, and then put in some pectic enzymes, let it rest for a little while, let the pectic enzymes do their thing, and then take a gravity reading and see how many points they have. So that's going to be goal number one. Let's do it. Now the messy fun begins. So cutting out the meat of 8 watermelons took quite a while. It actually took me a couple of hours, and I started off by trying to dig it out of a bowl, take the 2 halves and scoop it all out and cut it out, and found that wasn't working very well. So I started slicing the watermelons up into slices. That seemed to go quite a bit quicker. Well, the hard part is done. I got all of this watermelon meat pulped and pureed, and it was a massive mess. It was a terrible mess because I was using a blender. Now, normally I would have put this, all the plumbing down in the bottom, and I'd have just used like a paint stirrer. But I wanted to see if I could really puree this good with a blender, and I did. I don't know if it's going to make any difference. But my thought is the more I can puree it, the more the pectic enzymes can get in there and maybe give me a little more sugar, give me a little bit more points per pound. I'm going to dump these into the fermenter. Then I'm going to add the pectic enzymes. I'm going to give it a good stir. I'm going to give it 2 or 3 hours just to let the pectic enzymes work. Then I'm going to take a reading. I'm going to put some of this, I'm going to filter some of this so that I can get it as liquid as I can, because I'm trying not to add any water to this, but it may not work. We'll just see. Now there's quite a bit more. It's not as thick, so this may work better than I thought. We'll see. Got my pectic enzymes here from LD Carlson, and I'm not even going to measure it because it looks a little light anyway, so I'm just going to put it all in there. So I got to be careful with this mixture, because if I set it all the way down, I'm hitting the bazooka filters right there. So I'm going to come up a little bit. And I'm just going to give this a good stir just to get that pectic enzymes, get the pectic enzymes all mixed up in there. And now, as an experiment, just to see, I'm checking the gravity of a sample, and I've just put the pectic enzymes in. What I want to see is how much difference, if any, do the pectic enzymes make. So I've taken a sample, and it is reading 1.036 is what it's reading right now. So I'm going to write that down and give those pectic enzymes a couple hours. Then I'm going to take another sample, and we just want to see what is the pectic enzyme doing, if anything, to the watermelon. We'll see. One of the great things I love about these fermenters is how I can just go ahead and get a testing sample and not have to worry about separating out all the pulp. Oh, that's too much. Oh. Nice, good, clean sample. And I don't know if you can read it, but it has gone to 1.040. So it did raise a couple of points. We were at 1.036, so we got 4 more gravity points. It's been sitting about an hour. I think I probably didn't have enough enzymes, so I may just let this sit and pick some up in the morning and take it from there. So now, if you're not familiar with what gravity points are and ppg, points per pounds per gallon, I do have some guide sheets for that. They're free, and I'll put a link somewhere up here for you to go get them. I call them the STC guide sheets, where I take specific parts of distilling, break it down into simple components, and put them on a sheet of paper. And it's free download. You just go to stillingtheclear.com/guides, and you can download them. So like I said, I'm going to get some pectic enzymes in the morning and come back and add them in, see if I can get a few more points out of it. So I'll be back. So it's the next day, and checking the specific gravity after, pardon me, after adding more pectic enzyme, and the specific gravity is now lower than it was. It's at 1.030. It was at 1.040. I added more enzymes to see if I could get a few more points out of it, and it's lower. So what that tells me is there's less sugar in it now than there was, and so this has already started to ferment. I haven't added any yeast, so that means it's just the wild yeast that was on the watermelon possibly, or maybe in the fermenter. So I still haven't even finished doing the recipe because I still want to add my raisins. And so I'm kind of at a loss because I wanted to find out what the specific gravity of the watermelon is, but I'm not sure I can do that because I don't know how much more sugar the added enzymes created. So I can't just simply subtract, the 1030 from the 1040 and know that, oh, there's a 10 there's a 10-point difference, because the extra enzymes that I added may have possibly bumped it up to 1050. I don't know. So I'm not going to worry about it. I am going to add sugar to get to the 1050 mark or 1080 mark. I'm going to assume that 1040 was my highest gravity. So I'm going to add 40 more gravity points by adding about 7 pounds. So I'm going to add 7 pounds of sugar. I'm also going to add my raisins, and let's see, hold on. So I got 2 of these from Walmart, 1 pound, 4 ounces each, so 2.5 pounds of raisins. And I'm going to puree these also. So I'm going to get the blender back out. I'm going to add some of this watermelon juice to make it easier to blend, and then I'm going to beat these up real good. So we're going to get these in there, add some sugar, pitch some yeast. Okay, so I've added the sugar, the 7 pounds of sugar, and we've come out to 1.074. So I'm a little bit higher than I wanted to be. That's okay, because again, I'm accounting for the 10 points that disappeared between the time that I added the enzymes and took the next reading. I dropped 10 points because it's already started fermenting, and that's okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my EC1118 yeast. I'm going to add 2 packets, and then we're just going to wait. Hopefully it takes 5 days, 7 days maybe. We'll see. So let's recap this recipe. I took 8 large watermelons, and I took all the meat out, no rinds, and that came out to about 70 pounds of watermelon juice and pulp, and it came out to about 8 to 9 gallons, somewhere in there. And I didn't measure the volume. I just had it in two 5-gallon buckets, and just looking at the level, it's between 8 and 9 gallons of liquid, and it's all juice and pulp, 0 water added. And then we added 2.5 pounds of pureed raisin, and we added 7 pounds of sugar to bump the SG up, because I wanted a starting gravity of around 1.080. We had the little goof where it started fermenting before I could find out what the gravity of the watermelon was. No big deal. So I'm unclear exactly what the starting gravity was. If you have any questions, drop me a comment down below. And if you like the idea of doing brandies and using fruits, you might want to check out my mountain brandy recipe. It's fruits and grains. Or if you check this video out, YouTube thinks you'll like it. See you next time.